Good morning, everybody. This is Nicole Johnson-Starr and Bill Protzman on the 6 Senses of PTSD, and I have no idea what Bill is doing.
I'm sitting here. It's our fabulous technology that's flipping in and out on us.
Okay, I heard a big door opening, and I'm like, okay, he's messing with buttons.
I wonder where that came from.
Okay, that was weird. Well, you'll hear it when we start to listen to the recording. But everybody, as you know, Bill's sitting here, and so am I, and we're going to talk about music at way too early this morning. So let's quickly talk about one thing before we get into music. Wanting to get up in the morning.
Oh, gosh, really good point.
Yeah, when it comes to PTSD, getting to sleep is a struggle for some individuals because insomnia sucks. And, I tried last night to put music together for that, music that induces sleep, but I think I just created more symptoms instead with the recording. So to everybody, I am so sorry. And, but then the other part, not wanting to get out of bed or even wake up, these are also signs of PTSD. They can also be signs of depression. Or it could be a sign like last night, where I was up until dawn this morning, and I did not want to get up because I needed my sleep. But all of these things, when you're dealing with a job and you have to get into work, and it really doesn't work to be up all night and trying to fight getting out of bed in the morning. If you've gone to the PTSD Retreat Facebook page, you've seen me write out wonderful little joking stories about fighting the mafia called the bed. Almost like it's the godfather of sleep. It is the godfather of sleep. So it's important that you know that you can change the way your body is affected by your sleep or lack of sleep, and by changing the behavior. And there are certain things that are surrounding the ability to get to sleep. Like if you have electronics in your room, is there a TV going on? Do you have a radio playing, regular radio station that also has ads coming through? These things can definitely affect your sleep. They can also affect your body, especially if you're having music that's coming in that's as Bill has brought, that's taking you up a notch instead of taking you down. So today we're going to continue talking about music. And we're going to try to cover as many different emotions and feelings that are affected by music. And it's really interesting because music really does affect us, in a very, very physical way. Wouldn't you agree, Bill?
Oh, yeah. The most primary effect of sound or music is physical. And when we get hit by sound, there's very little you can really do to control that. Even like plugging your ears helps, but you're still going to respond if you're hearing like a jet airplane take off. Even if you plug your ears, the vibration of that is still going to enter your body.
Oh, one of the reasons why I hate rap. That
yes.
dum 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 dum.
Oh yeah, the boom car. You can hear the car coming blocks away, and it's like, what is that doing to you? Well, let's start there, because one of the things that you've talked about, waking up. If you use music to wake you up, or sleep to music, I just hope that it's the kind of music that's supportive of sleep, or supportive of an easy transition from sleep to wake. So, to review a little bit, the subconscious response that we have to sound happens not so much as a recognition, awareness of what the sound is, but as a physiological response, where our brains are going to stimulate all kinds of brain chemistry that enters our system. The dopamine that makes you sleep, the adrenaline that gets you up and moving. Stuff like that is going to happen when you hear sound. Different for all of us. I think we probably all have a different signature response, shall we say, to any given sound. Sometimes it's pretty consistent, like jackhammers and jet engines generally are an anxiety-producing sort of sound. The sound of a train horn, There's some things you can go, oh yeah, that sound is there for a reason. It's alerting me that there's a train coming.
Yeah,
other sounds like music are a little bit more complicated. So,
sorry.
What sounds do you sleep to? If the sounds you sleep to are releasing sleepy chemicals into your system, you're going to have a restful sleep. But if they're releasing other kinds of chemicals like hip hop and rap that wants to get you up and moving, that's not going to produce a peaceful sleep. Same thing waking up. If you jar yourself awake with some kind of, like Metallica is not a great thing to wake up to. Why? Because it immediately gets you into that fight or flight place, and what you really need when you're waking up is something a bit more gentle. You know?
I have a song that would work for that you showed us yesterday.
Oh, fire up.
I happened to listen to the whole thing. I got really excited.
Oh, this is great, yes. Just for the record, anybody who wants to find this stuff, this one's called New Shoes, and you can find it on Spotify.
And the album is These Streets.
The Streets. Okay, so what's going on here musically? There's a beat, and the pulse is one that's a little bit more than heart rate. The words are uplifting. If you actually become awake enough to think of the words, you go, oh, he's talking about something that feels good. But just focusing on the music for a second, it's a quietly energizing kind of a beat. Like you could take that same beat and move it into disco or move it into hip-hop, and the strength of the beat would be much more obvious. And that would have a bigger effect on you, moving you more towards fight or flight or movement, rather than just sort of a gentle transition into feeling a rhythm. Can you tell the difference now between, this is Cantaloupe by one of my favorite bands, Us Three. Way back in the 90s, folks. Okay, so this is kind of old, but here's the thing. It's got more of a heavier feel about it. It's more present when it comes to its effect on you. Because the beat is, I want to say louder, but it's more powerful. The pulse is more powerful kind of in your system than New Shoes. And if you're like at home and you want to play with this stuff, just flip back and forth between the two and pay attention to things like how strong is your heartbeat? Can you feel the pulse, your heart rate? You know, just hold your hand against your temple or against your wrist and see if you can actually feel your own body's responding to this music. And you'll notice a slight difference. And the goal here is to give you an intuitive, not a here's how you do it, but an intuitive connection to the music that works for you. And these songs might not. You might want to choose other music that works for you in a way that is meaningful. Now, we talked about waking up. If you put on, and we did this on our first segment, if you put on Charge, that will jolt you out of bed.
Charge?
Charge, yeah.
Oh, like the...
yeah, like the trumpet charge. Yeah, and there's a reason for that. We respond to that music with a blast of adrenaline. Our systems just do that. And, I mean, I don't particularly like waking up to a blast of adrenaline, but it might be what you need to get you going. So, as you're saying to yourself, you know, I'm a really heavy sleeper, I need something that's really going to jolt me awake, you want to choose something with a lot of adrenaline built into it. Something with a really heavy bass beat, something like Charge that immediately calls you awake, you know, to alertness and just a high state of awareness. And that's fine. That totally works. I wake up more gently. I just have a little drum track on my iPhone. I think it's called Mirabai or something, and it just is this little sort of a, it might even be a marimba kind of a sound. And I like that kind of a gentle but persistent awake, rather than getting jolted or having something that's way too sleepy where I'm just going to hit snooze and never get out of bed, you know?
A jolt out of bed to me is like Dropkick Murphys.
Yeah, tell me about it. And I don't like the jolt. I really don't. Not I'm waking up.
If it's going to wake me up like that, I'm going to be like, ah!
Yeah.
You know, actually, it's interesting that we talk about that because something happened on Sunday for me. It was, I have to change this music, sorry. I will put something on that people can enjoy. I actually got I was listening to all these different music that could represent aggression, you know, and I was like trying to get this together, and I was also listening to one of my buddies, you know, music. He loves Dropkick Murphys. I mean, like, we'll go across the country for Dropkick Murphys. And I was listening to it, and I did this before church. Does not work for church. And then when I came home, my whole day kept getting worse and worse. Symptoms of PTSD for me were coming out like bees out of a honey pot after it's been disturbed. And I was just as violent.
Yeah.
And I even just now, just sitting here talking to you about it, my body is starting to I'm getting the tenseness, my chest is tightening up, my arms are feeling like they're flooding with muscle juice, and I feel very anxious just remembering how I felt on Sunday. Another big issue with PTSD is trust, and having issues with possibility of hypervigilance, and that was coming out in ways like, why are we having this person? Have you checked out that person? Why are they that person? Because we're going to rent out our other house. And then I'm like, have you checked out that person? Why'd you make a deal with them? That person's a realtor. What is that person going to be able to do? Have you checked them out? And did you make sure their contracts? Just telling you this, I'm going, oh crap! Get me away. And
you noticed that the way you started the day kept coming back to you throughout the day.
Oh, it was horrible. And I didn't start the day out this way, because we start the day out with wonderful calming music. And this wasn't until, for me, church is at 1 o'clock. So this is at 11, 12 o'clock, so this is the middle of the day here, and it really changed the entire day. Oh, it was horrid. And
you're bringing up a really interesting point, because you don't even actually need to hear the music to experience the effect.
Yeah, long term.
It's there. It's like it's inside you. Some of the studies they've done on, like, boom car music, for example, that wonderful, incredible, heavy drum beat that really makes us move. They've found that over time you can become addicted to not the music, but the adrenaline rush. And it's like a subconscious thing. And you crave that music, and you need it, and you want the adrenaline rush that it gives you so much that you will, listen to music that does that, or find anything that creates that feeling of heightened awareness, and all the great stuff that goes with adrenaline, even when what you need is something else. And I'm a really big proponent of choosing music that supports feelings, and feeling them fully, and really experiencing the feeling and letting the music bring that out. But over time, you've got to have another way. You've got to have a way to downregulate. You can't have a sugar diet the whole time. You've got to have, something else has got to be in there to balance that. And Nicole, what you've described is a classic thing where you get into this place and you just can't change your mood.
Yeah.
All the stuff that goes along with that starts coming up. You get all these symptoms. You're triggered by anything, and there's no way out. It's like, how do I get out of this? Well, what we want to do is help to develop individual sort of crash kits, where if you've got a feeling and you want to change it, you've got some music that will take you into a different place. And that kind of music is very important too. I like to make really short playlists, maybe 15, 20 minutes, 3, 4, 5 songs sometimes, that can get me from one mood into another one, And sometimes it's not, like you might say, well, I need music to relax. Well, that's a pretty big statement. If you're triggered and anxious, you need a different kind of music to relax than if you're triggered and depressed, You want to change your affect in some way because you just can't take it anymore. Well, that's going to be different. And the kinds of songs that get you from anxiety to relaxation are going to be different than the kinds of songs that get you from depression to relaxation. Yeah. And they're going to be totally different from those songs that help you downregulate from just being way overhyped, way amped up. And the point of all of these conversations that we're having is to raise some awareness for that and to help you choose music that is going to work for you. And you know what? It's kind of fun, but it takes some time because of all the thousands of songs. Sometimes some people have in their heads choosing the ones that really make it work. It's one of those things where it's experimental. It's trial and error, and you can literally sit there, with your music and just try different things. And I'll wear playlists sometimes, like wear them. I mean, I will listen to them over and over and over until it becomes like a progression for me, and I know the next song is going to happen and how I'm going to respond. And if it's not working, I'll change out a song.
That's interesting because when when I used to run, like I'm starting back to run again, and consistently versus once in a million days, and I used to run to Top Gun.
Oh yeah, cool.
And I absolutely love Top Gun. There is nothing like it because it just invigorates from the top to the bottom, and no matter how you look at it. And I could actually run without the music playing because I played it so much that when I went to go take my PT tests, it would be playing in my head with every step.
Yeah, you can train yourself to do this.
Yeah. And it works because you can't run with music during tests. So I'm like, yeah, you can take away my Walkman. Or showing age, Walkman. I just said Walkman. Wow. You can take away my iPod. Go for it, or my Nano. It doesn't matter. I can still use it.
The song is still there.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you say Top Gun, I immediately think Danger Zone.
That's exactly.
That is the most powerful up piece of music that is just, bam, it's there.
Yeah, instantly. There's no hesitation. I could not even sit here. I found it and I started, because I ran over one song, and I went, oh, Top Gun. My body instantly reacted like I had energy flowing through. Like right now, I'm getting excited. I'm getting pumped up, and it's not like the other feeling I had when I wanted to curl in on myself. My body wants to open up, and as a matter of fact, it has. My posture is completely changed. I'm sitting up straight. My arms are spread wide. My chest is out like I'm getting ready to run, so air can go in. And
one thing that it's cool that you can express these things so well. I've worked with a lot of folks in Guitars for Vets, and believe me, when Nicole describes her response to music, that is so enlightened and aware in a way, and so not typical of a guy who sits down with a guitar and is going to play some music with you for the first time. All of those responses are there inside all of us. Being able to talk about them as eloquently as you do, Nicole, is the game here. That's really that's the objective.
It's taking time to listen to our bodies.
Absolutely. And how do you get there? Well, you sit down, put on the headphones, and start listening, and as much as possible, stay with it. Just stay with it and begin to learn, okay, I'm going to play Highway to the Danger Zone until I really get a clear response from my body that I can recognize, And it might take 5 minutes, it might take 20. That's cool. Stay with it, until your body's telling you, yeah, Bill, you want to get up, you want to move. It feels like it's time to move. It's time to go, It's like there's something clear happening. When you get that clarity, then you've got the song, and you can take that with you, and you'll remember it. Every time you think Top Gun, it'll be there.
It's interesting. You also brought up another good point about the clarity. If you don't even take time to recognize what you're thinking, there's some wonderful points as far as CBT is concerned, because you get to recognize your thoughts. Because if you don't know where your thoughts are going, you don't know what you're doing to yourself. And therefore, the music you may be listening to may be fully supporting what you're thinking, and you may not even realize it. There's been times like where I've had music playing in the background, and my thoughts will shift to that music. Not consciously, but on a subconscious level, and I'll find my thoughts changing. Right now, I've changed the music. My voice is slowed down, and it's the sad music, memories from when Moose died.
Yeah.
It's not. If we're not paying attention to what's in our background, it's very easy. We have selective hearing is very real. It's actually, there is an actual term, and I had to say it to myself over and over again, and I've still forgotten it anyway. But it's like zoning out. Things that you're used to hearing will actually zone into the background and not become a part of your active listening.
Yes, making sounds conscious is a really, really important part of being aware of what's happening to you. There are many people today that believe that sound is overwhelming us, and we literally don't have a lot of, bandwidth left to process other things. I noticed that when I moved to the mountains back in the early 2000s, and it was so quiet there, and all of a sudden I had all of this energy. Well, after thinking it through, I realized I had energy because I wasn't filtering out all the sounds of the city all the time. I was able to listen to things, and I was able to have clarity and peace where I wasn't spending a bunch of bandwidth turning off all the sounds of the street and all the trains and the boats and everything else that goes on in the city,
It's funny you say that. You mentioned the mountains. I can't tell you how much I miss the mountains, because there is nothing like hearing the trees. And for me, my mother used to tell people, and I used to get so angry with her when she did this, and be like, Mom, because she would tell people, she goes, you know what, if you ever get lost in the outdoors, just take my daughter. She's more comfortable there anyway, and you'll come out better than you went in. And I used to be like, oh, but it was true, because I was so much more comfortable there. And for me, nature is not silent. Oh my goodness, nature talks to me, and I am so grateful for that, because when nature is talking, it's sharing. I feel the wind. I feel the fact that the ground is still, and I'm not feeling the rolling tires. And I recognize that even though I feel that it's still, there's life between. If I have my shoes off, there's life between my toes, because there's things living in the dirt.
Let's talk about that for a second, because I was at my audiologist yesterday, and I mentioned something that's a fairly common thing in the world, which is tinnitus, that ringing in your ears. And if you've got TBI or anything, there's many, many reasons that tinnitus develops. But he said something that's very interesting to me, and when you're talking about the wind and the trees and stuff, it reminded me. There is a theory flying around in the world of audiology that tinnitus is a response to high frequencies that we don't get enough of anymore. And why high frequencies? Well, our ears are our eardrums, and like any other part of our body, they need a certain kind of stimulation. And by removing that high frequency sound from our environment, which we've done so well with all of our carpeting and sound dampening acoustic tile ceilings and everything else, the frequencies that we lose are the high ones. So there's the ear going, where's my high frequencies, And the theory, because nobody can really explain tinnitus yet, is that the ringing in our ears is our body's attempt to reproduce those high frequencies that we need. And they don't know how it happens. They think it's just something in the brain that goes, okay, we need this sound, so let's have it. And over time, of course, it can get louder. But guess what high frequencies have been found to do for us? I know people have probably heard of the Mozart effect, and that's fine. There's a certain correlation between music and how smart we are. But when I was working with some folks up at the University of California, Irvine, in the sort of brain neurology IT world, they said, oh yeah, it's it's not so much Mozart as it is the high frequencies that create a temporary IQ boost. And birdsong will do the same thing for you. That's their words, not mine. So those high frequency sounds that occur in nature, like the wind in the trees, you know, that wonderful roaring sound.
Yeah. The water
those things
trickling.
we need. That's the thing that they're theorizing is being sort of reproduced by tinnitus.
Yeah. I live in a very rural area, and I used to live in the mountains. I've grown up in the mountains. I grew up in Germany and England, and I'm used to the outdoors. Like growing up, I used to ask my mom, "Can I go camping?" She'd go, "Sure. Where are you going?" I look around and go, "That direction," and she would say, "Sure, no problem. Just be back in time for church on Sunday." And I'd turn around to leave. She'd go, "Dog or your brother?" I'd be like, "The dog." And I would go out and I would go into the mountains. There is a very big difference between the mountains and the plains. The mountains of Europe versus the plains of the Midwest versus the plains of Maryland, because it's not really it's not really a mountain area. People freak out over here when they see hills, but it's okay. That's their experience of mountains. I understand it. But when I'm here, it's an entirely different sound. It's an entirely different feeling. The trees don't speak the same way, if that makes sense. I know this is getting very, very mystical sounding probably to some of these guys going, "What the heck?" But I challenge everyone, take a moment, go sit in nature somewhere. Just sit, lean up against a tree and just sit there. Trees are actually really comfortable to lean on. They actually don't go anywhere for you. But lean against a tree. Yeah, they got your back. Just sit there and listen. Listen, go into the mountains if you can and just sit there and listen. And then go lay down in a meadow somewhere, surrounded by tall grass. If you want to, you can come over to my property and just lay in the meadow, like the back in the acres, and just lay down in the grass. You disappear from view from everybody. And just listen. The feelings are completely different. Both are nature. It's all one earth, but there's definitely a difference from the grass, which feels very new. There's no sense of age or depth. When I lay down in grass, it's a very short-lived existence for them.
Yeah.
But trees, when I lean back against a tree and just sit there in the forests and in the mountains, I feel a drawing of my body. Like I lean up against that powerful old tree, and I'm looking at tall prehistoric mountains. And I usually bring music with me, just so you know. I put music in my ears, and I listen while I'm sitting there. And I usually like to take things that are very, very calming. Or I know this is sound funny. I love John Denver. His music.
John Denver.
Oh.
That guy knows the mountains.
Yes. And the way he describes music when I'm in that area is just, there's no, I don't know how to explain it except for to have you guys listen to him yourself.
What Nicole's saying is so true. I remember shortly after I moved to the mountains, I met this guy who was in the Coast Guard back in the day and was in the maritime industry for most of his life. And one day he said to me, "Bill, I want to take you out to see this tree." It's just honest to God. Mm-hmm. And he took me to this tree, and this tree was amazing. It was the kind of tree that Nicole's talking about. You just feel a presence around you, and depending on the kind of a day it is, you might hear something, wind or birds or whatever. But it was the presence of this tree, and I've had that feeling before, visiting the giant sequoias or actually inside one of them.
Oh, I loved that.
There's a drum circle that actually goes to these sequoia groves and plays drums inside the tree. It's like, how cool would that be as a sound experience?
I can tell you, It's extremely cool.
There you go.
I've gone out and just sang with some friends who did some drums. One of my friends happens to be a shaman, and when I was out in California, we went up to Big Sur, and we just went out into the mountains. And my daughter, even at that time, here she is in first grade. She's like 6 years old, and even she was so affected. Like, it was the quietest I'd ever seen her. I mean, she sat and just felt everything, and afterwards she goes, "Mom, the trees liked that."
Yeah. See, kids get this.
Yeah.
It's an incredible perceptive thing that we have to go to kids to get it, you know.
Well, they have such an archaic understanding of life. They're not blocked by our no offense, our own ignorance and our own inability to just be.
Yeah.
We get so caught up in life that we forget to just be. And
let me go with that idea for just a moment, because one of the important things about music that sometimes is annoying is that music takes time. You gotta hang with it, you know. You've got to experience it over time. It's not like a painting on the wall where you go, "Oh, that's nice," and you walk away to the next one. So to really experience the benefits of music, you've got to spend some time with it, and that's a real commitment, you know. If you are the kind of person who, like me, is just really busy, making myself stop and listen. And okay, it's all right to listen in the car too, but you don't want to be driving down the freeway if you're triggered. Not a great place to be. I gotta stop and sit in a chair and turn everything else off that I can and just be with music for two reasons. First of all, I might need a real change. In fact, I really might need to change my mood. And unless I take the time to do it, it's not going to happen. Or I might really need to be with my mood. I have a friend who took his own life 10 years ago this May, and there are times where I really need to be with that and just remember, you know. Music will give you the time and space to do that, provided that you give it your full attention, you know. We talked about how we have to tune out so many sounds all around us. Put on the headphones, grab the music that does it for you, and just be there with it, you know, with as minimal distractions going on around you, and let it work on you. And oftentimes you can't predict the effect of that work. For me, if I choose the music that I want to remember my friend with, then it will take me through a complete sort of emotional bath. And at the end of it, I'll go, I guess the only way I can articulate this, at the end of that kind of experience, I'll just have to go, yeah. And I might find myself in a very sad place, or I might find myself relieved, remembering that he had a fantastic life and all the other things, he has a cool family and stuff. It doesn't really matter, but the thing that does matter is I took the time. And you can do that with, you know, in your friend's memory, you can do that in your own transformation. And I want to say this about post-traumatic stress, because in my own experience, and maybe you'll echo this too, Nicole, but in my own experience, I see people really becoming who they are through this, you know, rocket ship ride of post-traumatic stress. Things happen to us for reasons that are oftentimes out of our ability to understand, and if you are dealing with all these symptoms and craziness and just all the stuff that happens to you, know that what you're getting is an accelerated trip to transformation. And you can make that trip a really tough ride, or you can help to smooth it out by giving yourself some music that supports it.
You know, I do get to echo that. I actually just wrote about this last night, and you guys can go on, I think it's last night, and my days are all together. When giving ourselves time, I'm going to go back to that real quick.
Yeah.
It took our whole lives to get as screwed up as we are.
Yeah.
It does not go away like that. You know, You can take a, you have a broken bone, you take a pill, and the pain is masked. You can't sleep, you take a medication, and it stops you so much so that you just go into comatose. No dreams, or really funky dreams. But it doesn't really get to the point of taking the time to learn how to slow down. You can take a man, and you can give a man a fish and he'll eat for a day, or you can teach him how to fish and he'll eat for life, or disappear on the river with a whole bunch of beer. But when it comes so it's really important to acknowledge the fact that it takes time to develop the skill. You don't just become a runner because you decide to run. You don't just become a musician because you decide to pick up an instrument and just play it. It takes time to develop your own style, your own expertise. It takes time to just keep going. And that is so important.
Music gives us a safe place to experience time.
Mm-hmm. And it doesn't, it's not something that you have to you have to deal with. It's not something that you have to must do every moment. It's good things to do at certain times of the day. If you know that you're about to deal with a very stressful situation, if you've been practicing relaxation, when you go and you think of that stressful moment, you can automatically think back to practicing your relaxation, and your body will automatically react to your thoughts about the relaxation.
Yes, it's true. The skills you learn listening to music consciously become skills you can take with you. And oftentimes, like, Nicole, I've heard you giving breathing instructions, mm-hmm. which are fantastic. I do that in yoga. You can combine breathing with listening to music, or you can, like most of us do, you can combine listening to music with exercise, with running or working out. We do this naturally. And as you become more adept at it, the songs that you choose will become more conscious for you. And just like you were describing earlier, just remembering the song, even when you don't have a way of listening to it, will get you the effect. I guess the simplest way of saying is that music will supercharge anything else you're doing, whether that's intellectual work or emotional work or physical work. It will supercharge it. It even supercharges the effects of medicine. It's a very, very cool, what they call adjunct treatment, but it's a very, very cool way to amp up the effect of anything you do. And by the way, folks, that could be good or bad, so, take it advisedly. This power that lives in our ears, is a very, very important thing. And my favorite line from Superman, with great power comes great responsibility. Use it to really help you, rather than hurting you. Let it help you. Homework assignment. Here's a homework assignment. 15 minutes. Take 15 minutes, sit down with Spotify, Spotify.com, great tool. If you haven't got it, works on smartphones, works on computers. Sit down with Spotify and start putting together little playlists of the music that is important to you. It doesn't matter whether it's, whether you sort it or categorize it. Just put together the playlists of the music that works for you, and you'll find that some of them are one feeling and some are another. Okay, that's all you need to do. Go with maybe 2 different feelings and see if you can take the music you love and just organize it that way. Okay, just for a second.
I'm actually going to amend your homework assignment.
Go for it.
The amendment to the homework assignment: find something that is positive. Whatever emotion you choose, it gets to be positive. If you have been feeling depressed, find something that'll take you out of that depression.
Great.
If you have been feeling suicidal, first off, call someone. Secondly, get help. But if you just want to, I'm not going to force you. You can lead a horse to water, you can't make them drink. Same thing goes with people. If you're feeling that way, find something that brings life back into you. Not anger, life. Yeah. Something that makes you feel hopeful. Something that makes you feel energized, invigorated, rejuvenated. These are important if you're going to be finding music. So when you're finding this music, whatever it is you're going for, if you're feeling aggression, you find something that's the opposite, which is calm. If you're feeling isolated, you find something that makes you want to party. Okay? These things will change the way we are thinking by changing our environment, changing our what we're listening to, what we're thinking, based on changing that environment. So that's how I'm going to amend that homework, because this is really important for if you're dealing with PTSD or you're just stressed, because it doesn't have to be PTSD. It could just be I'm having a stressful moment, or I need a moment to myself. Do you know that you can create an entire sanctuary just with music? You could be in the middle of the busiest mall and put on Handel or Bach or something else inside, your earbuds, and close your eyes, and nothing else will exist.
Yep, it's true.
So
it's a great escape. It's a great escape.
Yeah. Do you think is there anything else we should add to that? I mean, we covered a lot today.
For now. My goal here is to get people engaging consciously with music, and we do it so well subconsciously, folks. So you already know this skill, but to bring it up to the foreground and take the time to be with it, that's the real point here. And
that's when you're going to see change.
We'll take it on to the next place, next segment.
Yeah, and you know what, guys? He just brought up something else. Let me amend that homework one more time. When you're listening to the music, if you'd like, I suggest, you don't have to, I suggest a thought notebook, and write down the piece of music, and write down your thoughts to it the first time you experience it, and see how you feel as you're listening to that music. So I'm going to leave you with a piece of music, and then we're going to end this segment with this. And thank you guys so much for listening to the PTSD Retreat radio talk show, The 6 Senses of PTSD. And Bill and I will be back next segment. Hold on, Bill.